Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you have all been waiting for. It is time. It is time. It is playoff time. What is going on, everyone? It is your boy Thriller, your analyst and pick'ems breakdown specialist for the BBR this season, and we are finally here for the long-awaited playoffs. The top 8 best teams are kicking it off here, man. And this is some pretty hype stuff here. We have some amazing all stars that made the playoffs here, and we have just a jam packed round of matchups. So before we get into this, we're going to go ahead and break down a couple of things here, and we're also going to do something else. First off, let's break down how playoffs work. I was confirmed with this by the GOAT Jason, aka Diet Tight, and the Grandmaster himself, Theodore. Coaches actually picked their opponents this season. So 1 through 3 basically gets to pick, and 4 gets whoever's left over. It's kind of a sad thing to kind of look at it, kind of, based off that. But it's going to be one of those pick system again. So we're going to see some pretty unique matchups. I will already tell you right now that there are 2 rematches happening and 2 first-time ever matchups are going to be happening this season. Or I'm super excited and to see how this goes. But with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about another thing I want to discuss real quick. And that thing I want to discuss is giving a special shout out to all the people that did their best this season and overall, gave it their all. So we gotta give a shout outs to Ark, even though, he probably wanted to just maybe end the season, just not do anything. He was bringing some fun stuff near the end and was still trying to get that win. But you know what? He at least finished like a champion. And Ark, I hope you do maybe hope we come back one day and get that redemption that you definitely need. But because there's some judgment that you need to be pushing down on these guys next time. Um, I'm stupid with this. But it was a real pleasure to have you, Ark. Definitely hope you come back again next season. My boy Jason, unfortunately, coming in at 15th right there. That's just sad. We worked really hard this season. Definitely felt like I didn't help Jason as much as I could have this season. I think just work was getting super busy near the end time. I'm almost done with work and I'll have like so much more availability, obviously. But I felt like I didn't get to help Jason as much as I wish I could have, and for that I apologize, Jason. But we still gave it our all, and you know what? It just came down to a little bit of unluckiness in some matchups, and just getting outplayed sometimes. But Jason still finished like a strong champ, like he is. Much love to him. D Ray coming in at 14th. D Ray definitely had some tough luck, and I'm gonna be honest with you, right? You kind of threw at least 1 or 2 of your games. Just saying. Um, I'm sorry, D-Ray. I had to. I had to. But D-Ray still finished strong. He's always a good, strong contender, and I definitely know that he never goes down from a fight. He keeps fighting, just like his boy Annihilate, Spanky. You know, even though Spanky's not his Annihilate name, it's just a combination of both Spanky and Annihilate there. But D-Ray was awesome. Everyone's favorite underdog, Dell. He at least didn't finish winless. Sorry, Art. He did finish winless like he almost didn't do last time. He kind of got screwed and like really got kind of screwed in a couple of his games. Like I think Panther. I think there was something that happened that cost him the win. Um, I think he also maybe got hacked or something. I think there were a few games that he just like legitimately lost. Like to Amel, like Scar chest out. Who predicts that? Like, come on. And then losing to Leo with good prep. I think there were some losses there that he definitely lost because it was just really bad matchups and because he didn't go against good players. And just also some Hacksaw ones just really kind of played a factor there. But Dell, he's still a champion in everyone's eyes, and I'm really looking forward to seeing Dell come back and keep on the grind. Kurt, I think really, I mean, he still came to win, but he kind of just wanted to do like maybe he was gonna probably go like, okay, I'm gonna do 1 season, and then I'm going away again. And if Kurt probably never does return to Draft League, well, I mean, he doesn't return to Draft League. He returns to uploading for Draft League. Kurt, just know we love you, brother. We appreciate that you were willing to come out of basically this retirement of YouTube and were willing to give us some fun, entertaining battles and just give us a great time like you always do, brother. I really appreciate you. Much love to you, man. Up next, we have T-Row, who really had to try to start bouncing back, and he was on the verge of doing so. He really was after that really tough week one um, that happened. He gave him a really good fighting effort. I love the fact that he had really a cool team, and he just really gave it his all, and that's all you could say. So major props to him. We even give a massive shouts to Ant, who took over a team that he didn't even draft, made some changes, and finished pretty much strong. I mean, he finished 4-4 plus 0, which honestly I don't think is a bad thing to be disappointed about. I think that's a really strong finish in my opinion. I think if you can just finish like that, it's a win in my book. But Ant, he took over a team, had to make do what he did, and he made a strong push and did really well. And then lastly, just barely missing out on the playoffs is Panther, who, funny enough, finished 4-4-4. Panther, I definitely think he could have utilized sand a little bit better in some aspects. He also got probably a little unlucky in some matches, but he also has to admit he got lucky in some games as well. Gave him some opportunities that he did have. But Panther, obviously, still one of the all-time best players that have been known around the world since Draft League has kind of started. Hopefully, Panther does come back again, and hopefully he keeps striving to go for it. He's definitely been really improving in Gen 9. Obviously, BBR was his first Gen 9 league in of last season, I think it was. And he got smoked. Let's be honest here. He kind of got smoked. Then LTM in low tier, he really thrived in LTM and really made a good playoff push there. And right here, he finished with a really good record overall. So he has really been improving in the Gen 9 format, which is really awesome to see. And I really hope to see Panther in the playoffs next season. But now we get to talk about the top eight. First off, the massive shout out to Pokebaldi. He started off, I think, this season in the first 4 weeks, I think 1-3. I think. I could be completely wrong. He could have been 2-2 by week 4. But after facing two losses, one loss was because of a damage roll, which that kind of sucks, but that was Pokemon. And then having, I think, two losses where he got hacked, I'm pretty sure. I know against Leo he was hacked to shit. But he got super hacked in that game and then got hacked in another game thing. But then pulling off 3 wins with some major upsets in my opinion. I think being able to beat John is a really big upset there because John's definitely one of the best players out there. But I think Baldy also had a really good matchup into John, so I think that played a factor there. Baldy really made some really strides. Definitely transactions probably didn't make too much of an improvement for his team, but he has definitely played really well. He's had the queen herself, Addison, in his corner, which she is a goddess after all, so she knows how to really help prep with teams. So very excited to see how Baldy pulls this off, and hopefully he can make that run, man. He could be potentially a back-to-back champion and become both the BBR D League and BBR main season champion in back-to-back seasons, which no one has ever done this. Like I've never seen a league that's ever done this before. Baldy could make history here. Up next, we got the champ himself, barely clawing himself in. He's technically 6th seed since he beat John in the regular season. I don't know how he's the 7th seed, but he's technically the 6th seed. But we'll talk about him because he's at the 7th seed, and it doesn't really matter based on what happened in the standings. But Owen, he had to really kind of fight his way, man. After kind of starting off decently hot, but then hitting a bit of a rough patch up. I think he went on like a 2 or 3 game lose streak there. But then to start clawing back, definitely getting some luck on his side there to be able to fight way back. And so he is now back in this, and he's ready to fully defend the championship right now. He wants to become the first ever BBR champ to win back-to-back seasons. He has that opportunity. Let's see if he can make some history here. Up next, we got my man John, who has made BBR finals twice before. Not last season, unfortunately, because he just got really unlucky and he drafted an ass Dragapult. But he had made finals back-to-back seasons before that one, and he was damn near so close at both times winning. So close. And now this might be John's chance. I think John has a solid, good team. I think he's been playing really well. And I think this is John's time. This is going to, and I'm going to say it right now. John is my pick to win BBR. I am locking in my prediction of John. I am not allowed to change it no matter what. Um, I will only give you my thoughts of who I would want to win if John doesn't make it to the semis, but John is my pick to win it this season. Matt, I'm really happy Matt made playoffs, especially when this is being his first league officially back in draft league after he took his mini hiatus of a break and retirement of sorts. And then he just decided just to draft a really fun team, and it just went to show that he knew how to manage and pilot that team. Um, and he's now made it to the playoffs, which I'm super excited for. I'm really happy to see Matt thriving, and it's going to be really awesome to see how he does. Of course, I'm not surprised that this man with the creative mind of any man in the world, Amel, has made playoffs. He has once again made the playoffs. Let's hopefully hope he doesn't get a round one exit again this time, but except who he's facing. He might face that Fury. But I think Amel has really strived in these last couple of seasons. These last couple of seasons, he's proving that I can draft a serious team and I can win leagues with him. So really hoping Amel does really well here. Let's see if he can try to not repeat history like last season, and hopefully maybe make a stride to finally winning a championship. And then we have our big three. We have Kigo, who's had, in my opinion, he does have the worst team, but he has proven that even though it's the worst team, you can make good out of anything. He's been pretty much same in generic with every single set he's done, but Keegan has proven that if you can kind of get lucky and if you also, build your team solidly enough, you can really get you out of some jams and really do well for you. So, Keegan, overall, he finished really strong. Let's see how he does in this season. Still the worst team though, Keegan. I'm sorry, it's still the worst team. I'm really proud of my man Obo. He finished, I think, between 5 and 8 seed last season. I think I could be completely wrong, but he finished as the second seed, and he also had a team that I really, really liked. It was really respected, really high up on my rankings. I think he actually was number two on my rankings. I think maybe number two or number three. I think I don't know. It's been a long time since that video's been out, but Obo has really proved himself. Also, I like how he's called Tenbo. Whoever did that, please give them a raise. Because that is the funniest shit ever. He's called Tembo. But anyways, Obo has really shined in this draft. I felt like this draft was going to be a little weird of sorts of how it is, but when those transactions came through, the team made more sense. It had more balance towards it. Besides the weird Sneasel, like Sneasel is not a Pokemon in this format at least. But he has really, really shined here, and he's had some really good games, and I think he's played really well. And you talk about making a massive comeback after having to just not be able to do draft for quite a while. My man Leo 6 Foot Axe here has wrecked shop with people, and mostly has wrecked shop with Sinistra of all things. Like, I want to show you guys quickly this kill leader board here. I want you to look at something. Look at this damn thing. It hit number 7 on the ranking. That's how good Leo has used it. He's pretty much used the same damn set every single week, but it's effective. It works. He's at least been creative in trying to change up the move slots and stuff like that, at least. But still, Leo, I think, has become a Sinashta believer at that point. He hasn't really made Rory Moon or Terrapagos look broken, and I felt like would have used him a little bit better. I mean, Terrapagos has been probably okay for him, but I really felt like he would have used Rory Moon a lot better. So hopefully he could still shine in the playoffs with it. Pat has had some good limelight. Thundy's been okay. Clodsire, he keeps trying to curse, man. He keeps trying to curse, but he can't get it. Copalion has been pretty solid as well. I think Leo has just had overall a mixed team, I feel like, a mix of good and bad, but he's been really shining. But with that out of the way, we're going to talk about the matchups now. So, what coach picked who this week? So, like I said, the coach system for playoffs worked like this. The coaches that basically finished 1 for 4 can pick their opponents, essentially 1 through 3. Let's be honest. The fourth always gets whatever left over. Whether that's good or bad, that's up for them to decide. So, Leo finished as number 1 seed, so he got to pick his opponents. So, we're going to go based off of that. So, in the first game, we have Leo rematching his week 2 opponent. I'm pretty sure it was his week 2. And Pokey Baldy. Now, I find this is a very interesting choice for a rematch here. But I can kind of see the vision of what Leo is doing here. I think Leo picking Baldy is interesting here because I think last time Baldy, in my opinion, had the matchup to win, but I think now without that Titan, I really think this could be Leo's matchup. I think Leo feels a lot more confident in this rematch too, without Titan being there, and also one other Pokemon not being there that was there last time. There was a Oh, and Dondozo. I think Dondozo not being there is also massive for Leo. So let's break down these matchups again. First off, Baldy's team is Garchomp, Galarian, Slowking, Enamorus, Heatran, Kilowatt, King Gambit, Manaphy, Toadstool, and Ice Cube. Leo's team is Terrapagos, Glory Moon, Ogerpon, Wellspring, Hatterene, Cobalion, Alamola, Clodsire, Thundurus, Therian, and Sinistcha, and Magneton. He did not have Magneton last time, but he has it this time. And I'm also not going to talk too much more in depth with these rematches. I think because the rematches are already kind of the first time I ever talked about them, these rematches are kind of more brief injuries. The two of the games that we have not seen before, I'm going to go a little bit more in depth in those, but go from there. So looking at this rematch again, I still think Terrapagos looks absolutely insane. Earth Power or Focus Blast, whichever way you want to go with it, whatever coverage you want to have. Into normal spam is super good into Baldy. I think Rory Moon really shines here with a booster speed set. I think if you get the booster speed +1, Iron Head or Poison Jab, whatever kind of coverage you have there. Scale Shot, I think, is more of the better bring in this matchup. I know that sounds stupid to say, but Scale Shot looks really good in things like Jump, which can take a Habanberry hit. Galarian Slowking, which can be able to kind of deal with that. Also, I think Scale Shot's really good into a Pokemon like Manaphy, Kilowatt, stuff like that. I do think you're kind of tossed between Rose Berry or Loaded Dice, however. I don't think you're bringing an Acrobatic set, even though I just said Booster Speed. But you know what I meant, like a Dragon Dance variant as well. Just from that aspect of it, had Ogerpon Wellspring looks absolutely incredible. I really don't see how Baldy struggles with that. Deals with that. His only best way to deal with that is with the Kilowattrel, but unfortunately, he has to get that Kilowattrel in free versus anything else. So that's going to be a little bit of a problem for Baldy there. The Hatterene, I don't think you bring. I don't remember if Hatterene was brought last time, and if it was, I don't think it's brought this time. I think just Glow King takes advantage of that. Heatran's a really good answer to it. King Gambit is always smooth threatening. Manaphy could just set it freely on that thing. I just don't really think it comes. Cobalion definitely has a decent chance to come. If it didn't come last time, it's got a good solid chance coming this time. Cobalion is super strong into just about every damn thing on this team. I think like a Sugar Berry set makes a lot of sense. I think Sugar Berry with Swords Dance and like Dual Stab plus Stone Edge literally is unresisted and literally can just like punch through in the majority of the team. Alamola, it came last time and it caught a freeze with Ice Beam. I think Alamola comes back. I think um it does. I think it has some decent merit for that. Clodsire, I definitely think you have to bring Clodsire, and I think you're more sort of entitled to bring Water Absorb, but you also could bring Unaware. But even then, I actually don't even know if Clodsire is fully able to be brought because it loses to Slowking, loses to Garchomp, loses to Manaphy, can technically lose to Toadstool under the right situations if there's a right situation. Thunderous Therian, really love Thunderous Therian in this matchup. Thunderous Therian hits insanely hard. Obviously, the only big threat is going to be the Garchomp there. But I've been doing some creative testing with some Pokemon I have to face in future leagues that involve Thunderous Therian and using certain tech items to try to be able to ponder this. So a little bit of the shush shush on this one, but there's some cool tag. Actually, there's one thing I could see really cooking Baldy right now, and that is bulk up acrobatics thunderous. I think agility plus bulk up and then dual stab literally is unresisted whatsoever on this team. And if we can get a +1 or +2 off, we can two shot if not OHKO with the Garchomp if it's not defensive. So a very much impressive set right there. Sinistcha definitely makes his comeback this week. Sinistcha is just super good into majority of Baldy's stuff. And Magneton, don't think Magneton comes out really good. Into this matchup, Garchomp, I do think has a pretty solid matchup across the board. I think the only thing that Garchomp kind of struggles with is going to be probably going to be the Sinistcha. Otherwise, I think Garchomp looks really damn good in this matchup. Galarian Slowking, another fantastic Pokemon in this matchup. I don't think there's any issues with that. I think Sinistcha, again, is the only thing that might cause concern. Also, the Roaring Moon, but I think the Galarian Slowking is pretty good. Enamorus, absolute fantastic Pokemon. Enamorus is super good into the majority of everything. He has the perfect coverage options there. It is only going to be dealing with the speed from Ogerpon and Roaring Moon that has to struggle with a little bit, and also maybe the Cobalion. But I think overall it's super strong in this matchup. I think he went with like a physical set last time or a mixed set. I think going full special will make a lot more sense this matchup when I'm around. So there's gonna be that. Oh no, I think he was specs last time possibly. Heatran, I think he brought Heatran last time. I don't know if you're bringing Heatran again this time. I think Heatran's not really that good into this type of team. I don't think it's really that good of a matchup wise, especially with Sinistray can be heat proof. Um, I just don't think it's going to match up too well. Kilowatt Troll, I definitely think Kilowatt Troll comes. Kilowatt Troll is just a great answer to things like Thunderous, which is really nice. And it's just super goddamn strong in this matchup. Hurricane Spam is absolutely free. I think Baldy definitely has to go with specs this time. I don't think he went with specs last time. I definitely think he's got to go specs. I think specs works so well into this matchup where there is no flying resist that is not named Thunderstarian. And if Thunderstarian doesn't come, there's no flying resist at all on this team. So I do think that Kilowatt looks absolutely free here. King Gambit, don't really think you bring King Gambit. It's not like I think there's a decent chance to bring King Gambit this matchup, but it's a little tough for it to kind of be fit. Manaphy, I think you bring. Manaphy is 100% a really good mon in this match. I think Reno Berry Manaphy makes a lot of sense with Tail Glow. And then just maybe finding a move at +3 that outgoes Wellspring in some fashion or something like that. Or you be like Take Heart with Fizz Def and something like that with Weakness Policy. Or you run Store Power, honestly, one of the two. Don't really know what you're going to go with it though, but I think like a double dance set like Acid Armor, Dazzling Gleam, Store Power can really just kind of beat Leo's team here. Toadscroll, don't think you read Toadscroll, it's a really bad Pokemon. And Ice Cube, he's just going to be there cheering you on. But in terms of this rematch, I think I am going to. I'm going to make a really bold claim here. I think Baldy's winning the rematch. I think Baldy had a really solid chance at winning last time, but got hacked. So you know what? I'm picking Baldy. I'm gonna stick with my choice I made last time this happened. I'm picking Baldy. I really think Baldy has a team that wins this one. I do think Leo has to kind of almost pigeonhole a couple of things and kind of be predictable a little bit, especially since this is a rematch. And I think Baldy is going to have the advantage in this rematch, especially with the transactions made. They weren't, I mean, the Manaphy is the only real transaction I think it's going to matter here. But everything else about Baldy's team, I think, is going to be really good. I really, really, really think Baldy's winning this one. Game number two is another matchup, and funny enough, it's another side by side, which thank God you guys are doing this. It makes my job a lot more easier. We've got Matt taking on Tembo. I'm sorry, Elbow. If it's like this for every going forward, I'm calling you Tembo for the rest of the season. In fact, change your server name to Tembo, please. But we got Matt versus Obo in a rematch where Obo did win, but he walked away only barely a winner. He took an extra chip of rock damage on his Lando, which put him in range of 8 IV coverage. And unfortunately for Matt, did not get the crit or the roll it was to kill that Lando, and Obo walked away with that win. Obo also did like also could have really done well with Sneasel, but he put a move on Sneasel he didn't want to really mess around with, and he missed, and he basically almost cost himself the game. So the rematch in here. So Matt's team is great. Is no, not Great Joust, my bad. Don Fan, Girafarig, Terrakion, Zorud, Mudsdale, Turtonator, Cobalion, Impidimp, Basculin, and Growlithe, where Obo has Urshifu, Ironmoth, Landorus Therian, Rotomwatch, Jirachi, Cyclozar, Primalghast, Galvantula, Sneasel, and Florges. So last time I think Obo brought Urshifu, Lando, Rotom, Sneasel, Jirachi, I think. And I think Bramblegast or Ironmoth is the last one. I don't really fully remember what's on the head. But and then Matt brought Don Fan, Zarud, Terrakion, Girafarig, I believe, Turtonator, and then either Cobalion or Mudsdale. It was one of those. This is a very interesting rematch here where Matt definitely could have won the game. Um, but although he was a little unlucky with the rolls, don't think he really played bad. I think both didn't really play bad except Olo, taking that extra chip with rocks with his Lando. Definitely not the best thing. So I think with Matt's team, I think when we look at things like the Great Tusk here, um, uh, Great Tusk is just you can't really wall this thing, man. It's got the perfect coverage to this team. I think like a clear amulet rapid spin set could be really cool. I think like to kind of take advantage of the fact that it was special Lando last time to take care of the special side of things on the team. Could special Lando come back again? Possibly, and I do think it's a kind of almost a guarantee that we will see special Lando again because it was kind of good until last time. But I do think physical Lando could make the appearance this time around. I think Bandit looks super good into this team. But we're talking about that first. I think Great Tusk is really solid here. Raging Bolt really has no good switching. Florges is your only best answer, which you're forced to bring. I think he might have brought Florges last time, but if he didn't bring Florges this time, he has to because Raging Bolt is just that threatening. This is an Iron Boulder game if I've ever seen one. Iron Boulder just shreds. Ogre Pond was really good last time. I think he comes again. Is a really solid Pokemon here. Ting Lu may come. I mean, Cyclone and Brambleghast, only one of them came for hazard removal, but I don't know if that's the case. Ting Lu could definitely come because Spikes and Rocks really came in the clutch last time for him. Enamorus, don't really think it comes. I think Enamorus is honestly, like, this one at least is a god awful Pokemon. It should never be drafted, in my opinion. I know Matt just drafted it just to be funny because he wanted a Turtonator. But otherwise, I think Enamorus is a god awful Pokemon. I will maybe make a video why this is so trash. Iron Crown's pretty decent in this matchup. I don't think it's the greatest mon in this matchup. I think you're forced to reach Scarf if that's the case. But it's not terrible. It's definitely decently good, but may not be brought because of hesitation with it. Grafai, I think this has got the potential to do something here. I think Grafai has every opportunity to do something really cool this game. And I'm really hoping that's the case. Basque Legion. I think Basque Legion actually could make up an appearance this time if we did not make it last time. I think Ghost plus Water is insanely hard for Elbow to really switch into. I do think your other locked into Scarf or Spec. Oh, excuse me. I think Specs looks the best in this matchup, in my honest opinion. I think Specs looks really, really clean here. And then Growlithe, unfortunately, he's not going to come in this week, but I wouldn't put it past Matt to do it just for Dunk. Obo, Urshifu is pretty decent this matchup. Urshifu is pretty solid into the majority of most things. I think Urshifu needs to kind of get things chipped down, though, for things to get into a late game position to where it could win. Iron Moth is pretty decent, but don't know if it's going to be realistically brought. Iron Moth's a little tough to kind of get going and moving around with this. I think you bring it to either Meteor Beam, boost your speed, agility with boost your special attack. Just really, really rough. I think you bring Lando back. Lando was the GOAT last time for you. I think you have to bring it. Run and Wash, I think you have to bring as a really good answer to Tusk if you can possibly do that. And also having something for Iron Boulder. And also having something for Ting Lu because you don't really want too much else for Ting Lu besides your Urshifu. So there's that. Cyclizar, don't think you bring. I don't think you brought it last time. Brambleghast, I could see you bringing. It's actually not that too bad into Matt's team overall. Is really solid there. Galvantula, Webs. Webs was not brought last time, and Webs I still feel like you can't bring because of the fact of Defiant Ogerpon. But I do think an offensive Galvantula is super solid this matchup. I think something like along the lines of Scarf is looks really good here, or Specs. Because like Bug Buzz, Electric Move, and Grass Move, it hit everything on the team for super effective to neutral damage. And then throwing Sticky Webs on there just as an option is super solid. Florges you might not bring because you steer a couple of things here, but I feel like you're almost forced to bring Florges to be a Basculesian Shag, be a Raging Bolt Shag. You know, you have to, and also a decent enough to check the Amnamorous if it doesn't get Calm Mind up. There is a decent chance we're going to see Sneasel come back. Obo actually might legitimately bring back Sneasel. And I will say this Sneasel has a fantastic matchup. Besides Iron Boulder, it outspeeds everything and can 2 KO if not OHKO everything with Bandit. That was the idea with that with Sneasel, and it didn't work at all. So he could risk bringing Sneasel again, which would be a fair bring on his end. But I don't know if he's going to feel comfortable enough to bring Sneasel after what happened. But based off this matchup here, I'm going to actually go ahead and pick my boy Obo. I think Obo uh can win this one here. Actually, I got right as Tenbo. My bad. But I do think Obo's team is just really, really good. I think he really matched up really well in the mat last time when they played too. I think if just he can kind of keeps the game plan going with what he wants, I think he can definitely win this matchup. So we're gonna talk about two games that did not happen during the regular season, and these are some pretty interesting games because it's the first seed versus the last seed. So not that. I mean, first pick versus last pick, if you make sense. So Keegan was number three on the board, and he had the choice of either John or Owen. And since he did not want to get smoked by John again, he went and picked Owen. Now, I actually think this is a smarter pick because, first off, they never played in the regular season, so I think a completely fresh matchup opens up the door and actually makes for a fair fight between both teams. So I think that's really, really cool. So, and maybe based off of the game between John and Keegan, Keegan didn't really like how John prepped in terms of like, oh wow, I can't beat him if he's prepping like this. So he wants to go and just take, a matchup that might be a little bit more worse for him, but it's worth it in the aspect of it. So Owen's team is Iron Valiant, Shiyu, Glamora, Swampert, Metagross, Talonflame, Decidueye, Porygon Z, and Hariyama, where Keegan has the team of the Miascarata, Iron Hands, Volcarona, Screamtail, Landorus, Blastoise, Dragonite, Registeel, Girl, and a breakfish that's never been brought. So, Obo Squad, dear God, does he just destroy with Iron Valiant? There is no good answer to Iron Valiant on this team besides a physically defensive Registeel, even that gets 2 KO'd by close combat. Even physically defensive Screamtail is a thing, but again, after an SD, O-Code or 2 KO'd by Poison Jab or Spirit Break. This is a very rough match for Keaton. I'm actually very surprised he would pick this, but I respect the balls to pick someone that has a really strong first Pokemon, let alone a strong second Pokemon that pairs really well in this team. Now, I do think Owen, though, he's not going to be able to bring the trusty tried in Scarf set of Chiyu. You want to know my opinion? Why? Iron Hands walls it. Iron Hands can wall that set very easily. So I think a Ruination set with Psychic looks really good into this matchup. I think Ruination, Psychic, and either Nasty Plot or Psychic do a stab looks absolutely insane this matchup. Obviously, you risk, not having the speed to be able to check Landorus. I also think a Sugar Berry set could possibly be a thing where you can guarantee live one, but if you get chipped down, you're basically dead. Um, but we'll have to see how overpressed. But I love Chiyu in this matchup. Chiyu looks really good. Talonflame looks so goddamn hard to really be like. After this thing gets a Swords Dance and it can like Willow Wisp, like Swords Dance, Willow, Roost, and Flare Blitz, honestly. If not, I think like a Willow, Roost, uh, or Willow Roost in general, Willow Roost, a dual stab with weakness policy can really shape up. Now you may ask yourself, what the fuck would I say weakness policy? Well, let's think about it, right? Against Iron Hands, what can you really do? I think Iron Hands, if you burn it, you get a weakness policy off of a Volt Switch pivot or off of a Thunder Punch hit or something like that. And then once you get the policy, you're faster than everything and you two shot, if not Oko, everything. So why wouldn't you be that? I think that's a really solid set there. I do think Glamora is semi going to be brought here. I don't think it's going to be guaranteed, but it's definitely really decently good in this matchup as it's a really good answer to kind of a lot of things. Obviously, Registeel and Blastoise are good counter measurements to it, but as got to play around that. Metagross, I don't think you bring Gross. Gross is actually pretty rough in this matchup. I don't think it's going to do really much as well. It's a really good Scream Tail answer if you really wanted to, but otherwise it's kind of really rough to bring. I mean, it's decent against hands, but Miascarada kind of puts it in check. Volcarona kind of puts it in check. Unless you're Meteor Beam like a god. Landorus puts you in check every single time, and a defensive Blastoise also kind of keeps you in the way. So there's that. Decidueye, don't think you bring Decidueye at all in this matchup. Hariyama, it could be the battle of hands, man. I want to see the battle of hands. God damn it, give me the battle of hands. And this could actually be a very fantastic Hariyama matchup because he cannot care about running physical contact moves against something like a Volcarona. Because Volcarona gives him that flavor eye burn. He gets that guts. There's nothing he can do about that. Now, Keegan might be forced to bring kind of similar Spadef sets of sorts he did against the PZ because He faced the PZ against D-Ray when D-Ray had it before he traded it away. So I could see Owen running the run back there with PZ. But at the same time, I don't fully know if it's going to be brought. Like, it's not terrible into Keegan, but it's really kind of rough if you can't really be able to deal with the Logi steal. Screamtail, like it's too big of an issue with, but I think everything else with the speed wise, it could be a little bit problematic there. But I don't know. You kind of said Swampert looks pretty solid in this matchup. I think Swampert really kind of blanket checks a lot of things. I do think you're forced into Rindoberry Pert. I would love to see Rindo counter. I would love to see Rindo counter into a Meowscarada. And then boom, get rid of that fast threat and then have the speed control essentially. Unless Screamtail is running a ton of speed, which I don't think it should ever. I think overall though, Swampert is really good getting Rocks up here. I think Rocks looks super good into the team there. Obviously, Volcarona will be forced to run boots if that's the case. Um, just getting that knowledge as well is just also really, really good. What else does Owen have? No, I talked about everything. So I'm going to take a memorization of Keegan's team real quick, and let's talk about what Keegan can do here. I will say Iron Hand's pretty decently solid in this matchup. I don't think it's the greatest, but it's pretty decently solid here. Provides really good defensive synergy for the team here, and kind of really good offensive capability, gains momentum. Miascarata is the slowest on this team. Is the fastest on this team, but it's going to be slow in Talon Flame, not speed tie with the Talon Flame. So but Miascarada looks pretty strong here. I think dual stab looks absolutely insane. I could see something like a mixed Miascarada ring potentially. But I also could just see maybe physical with Brick Break to check the Chi Yu since it's weak defense, physical defense. Um, I don't know if you go Banded, Life Orb, Expert Belt, Sash Lead. Because Owen does have two Defoggers and a Mortal Spin user, which can act as a rapid spinner. So I don't really know if you're bringing hazards into this matchup. As Owen has decent enough ways to reliably remove it. Registeel, I think, is going to be a slept on Pokemon in this matchup. I think if Registeel is rest, is going to be body press this matchup. I think body press, rock move, rest, and then heavy slam. It kind of just checks a lot of the blanket box off there. But there is a ground type. There are two fire types, and a fighting type is going to really pressure also Iron Valiant as well as a fighting type. Two fighting types, two fire types, and a ground type. It's really pressuring Registeel here, so he can breeze it. He has to be fully prepared for all five of those in the sense of the matter there. I think Volcarona is pretty decent here. I don't think Volcarona realistically comes though. Volcarona is just really not that strong, and it's not going to really do that well into this type of a matchup. Like Chi, I feel like can always beat it 1v1 with Taunt Ruination. You can speed tied with it as well, especially if it's defensive. It's especially if it's kind of slower, so there's that. Lando I though, I do think Lando I has the potential to really punish Owen, especially if there's any way that Lando I can get a speed buck going here. I think Lando I gets agility. I could be completely wrong about that. But if Lando I gets agility, there is a potential that agility could sweep this team if it's positioned carefully. Modest agility, earth power. Oko's just about every damn thing on his team besides Decidueye and Talonflame. But then there's Dark Pulse. Then there's a rock move, and then that's just about it. You really don't need anything else. This is definitely going to be Lando Eye's probably strongest performance here, but I really do think it's going to struggle a bit here. Dragonite, I really don't think it comes. There's too many good ice coverage options. Plus, I feel like there's easy ways that Multi-Steel gets breaking, the Dragonite gets crippled. I really don't think Dragonite comes. Plus, I don't think Dragonite came last time there was a Porygon Z on Keegan face, so I don't think he brings Dragonite again. But for this matchup, I am going to pick my main man, Owen. I am expecting him to defend the championship with honor. I think Keegan probably picked the worst matchup for him, honestly. But Keegan probably wanted to really face Owen this season, which I respect the fact that he picked a man that had a better matchup into him. Because if he somehow does win, then you know what? He at least walks away as a hero in some fashion to some people's eyes, even though he has horrible taste, like how he thinks Excalibur was better than Garchomp. He had takes like that, but I'm just roasting this poor man. I'm sorry, Keegan. But I do think Keegan has the possibility to pull this out, though. He has to just play very smart, though. He also has to hope Owen lets himself get tilted like Owen usually does. Owen needs to not let himself be tilted during the game so that way he can kind of stay on the focus track and he can win. But I am going to pick Owen for this. But now we get into a very interesting matchup. We have got Amal with the Darkrai, Pecharunt, Quaquaval, Clefable, Latias, Ogerpon, Quarterstone, Hippowdon, Regieleki, and the Vivian taking on John Jr. Now, if there was probably one person John did not want to fight this season, it probably was Emil because John doesn't know how Emil likes to build. John has hates the unpredictability of Emil sometimes. But this should be a very interesting matchup. So let's look at Emil's squad here. So looking at the squad right here, Emil doesn't have really the bad like a really bad matchup here. I think Darkrai looks decently solid here in this matchup. I think Darkrai can be pretty decent in this matchup. Darkrai only has to really have, kind of really struggle with things like the Scizor, the Annihilate, the Weavile to an extent. Comfey is the massive thing he has to kind of get around, and also Overcoil. But I don't think it's really the worst Darkrai matchup. But it'll be interesting to see at least if he can really get around that. Pecharunt. Pecharunt is the mixed bag here, ladies and gentlemen. Pecharunt is very different in this matchup. Pecharunt loses to Overquill. It loses to Sandy Shocks. It loses to Weavile to an extent. And can lose to the Annihilate and Latios. I don't actually think Emil brings his second mascot. I don't think he brings Petron. I think Petron's not that good into this type of team. It's really rough for him to really do anything really run with it. If he does bring it, it's just going to be a stally, toxic, funny pun right there, mon that he just has to take advantage of with his stall with, and that's just the only way he can potentially win this match. Coquable's decently strong here. I think Coquable can definitely get some steam rolling going here. Like if it's allowed to SD and then pretty much two shot, if not Oko, everything, it's pretty good to go here. Um, for what type of Coquable bring though is really tough for Hamel. Like Iapa Berry obviously is the first thing that comes to mind when you think of Coquable this matchup, but then you have to remember like Intimidate from Overquill kind of keeps you immunized down. But I do think the also the Quillfish as well, which walls both your stabs, it's gonna be a little interesting, but I think the Conquavo could come. It's not guaranteed to be brought, but it's decent here. I think Ogerpon Quarterstone though looks pretty solid in this matchup. I think the only real issue that Ogerpon's going to deal with here is obviously the Annihilate, the Scizor, and the Skarmory, but it's not terrible into everything else. It's decently on there. Batter Saber, no. I gotta make sure we keep the battery on, otherwise this video is gonna drop. But nonetheless, I overall think that Amel's Ogrepon here can be pretty decent. It's not the greatest in this matchup, but it's pretty decent into the match itself. So very interested to see how he would go with that. Clefable. Clefable's a wild card here. I think Clefable is going to be brought, and here's the reason why I think he does. Clefable, if it can get set up, is really good. I think it's forced to be Berry though with Flamethrower so that we can take on the Scizor and be able to beat the Skarmory. I think as long as Amel can find some way to break that sturdy and get that like a +1 Calm Mind off and to be able to kill the Skarmory, this is actually looking like an impossible Pokemon for John to deal with. Like fully Fizz Dev with Calm Mind on Clef, I think looks very hard for John to beat, and is going to definitely be something that John will have to struggle with the most. I think he has to basically rely on potentially then Annihilate Gunk Shots from doing anything, or the Gunk Shots from Overkill as well. But it's going to be really interesting there. And funnily enough, if this thing has potentially tinted lens, which I don't remember if it does, I think it only has compound eyes. There's a chance Emil could bring Vivillon. And I know that sounds stupid, but you gotta kind of look at this, right? Fly spam, fly spam, fly spam, fly spam, fly, bug. The only resistance, fly/bug, fly. There is no good flying resist. Vivillon actually has a potential to show up this matchup. Is it guarantee? No, it's not. I will say John is 100% forced to bring Andy Shocks because if he doesn't bring Andy Shocks, Reggie Alecki really messes John's team up. Specs nukes through everything John has if he does not bring that Andy Shocks. And the thing is too, he can just use Andy Shocks as like hazards because we look back at Amel's removal option, it's only Quaquaval which in Regieleki, which if Regieleki comes, it's more of an offensive Pokemon. It's not going to be Rapid Spin. It may have Rapid Spin, but I don't get Rapid Spin. But Coquevo's not Rapid Spin, so I think John primarily is going to use his Sandy Shocks to just get up the hazards and be able to kind of keep them on the field. Um, Hippowdon is something that John does have to kind of respect a little bit here, because Hippowdon definitely could be a very annoying Pokemon. I think either physically defensive or specially defensive Hippowdon with things like Yawn, Slack Off is really annoying. I think things like Whirlwind could also be a really threatening issue there. In its Anal could bring Choice Specs into a KO something, and we would never know it. So, but it's gonna be really interesting to see that for the least there, and I think I've pretty much covered everything. Oh, Latias. I actually think that John might have to be careful here because Latias is probably going to be arguably the scariest thing he has to fight. Because Latias is, I think Latias cat mystical fire. Maybe I don't think so. Well, Latios did it, but that's fair because Latios got flip turn. I don't know, maybe not. Who knows? But Latios is also pretty threatening here. I think Latios can really function around here. I think it's really good to both wall, and I think it's overall going to be a really good Pokemon into things that John has. But let's talk about John's team here. Wow, Amo loses to a really good Latios spring. I think Latios looks absolutely insane in this matchup. I think Latios can go Specs, Soldew. I could see Calm Mind. I could see sub 3 attacks. I could see sub recover with something like Life Orb and just click a button. It's just a super good mind into this matchup. And I think Amo's going to have to really have a hard time struggling with that. Annihilate is something that could possibly be brought here. I do think it has a merit to be brought into this matchup, as it is going to be primarily like a either AV setter, bulk up user. I know John has actually not been probably feeling the best about Annihilate this season, as he's been kind of pigeonholed into just being AV or being one other item. He hasn't really been able to really explore Spanky's potential, which is really sad. I really wish that that was not the case. But I really think Annihilate can shine this matchup. I think Annihilate has a lot of potential here, as Rage Fist does go through any boosting, goes through unaware, which I think is really important to know there. So if Annihilate is hit and it gets 100 base power with that bulk up, Rage Fist is going through that. I don't know if the bulk up power will also go through that, but Rage Fist goes through that at least with its boosted power. So that's definitely going to be a really fantastic check to Clef, which I think is a really big thing to note there. I think Andy Shocks, even though Andy Shocks is somewhat forced to be brought as to make sure you don't lose to Regieleki, I also think Andy Shocks looks really good here. A really good check to things like Petron with booster speed. It outspeeds Quavo if it's Scarf. It can be able to take on the Latias, okay, like triple it down with like a Thunder Wave. I also think it's a really pretty much good guarantees that you cannot safely bring in Ogerpon, otherwise Ogerpon gets chipped and breaks sturdy. Still can lose things like Hippowdon a little bit, but overall just gives that good general ground check. And I do think John is somewhat forced to bring his Andy Shocks just because he needs to make sure he does not lose to Regieleki and doesn't have to force Regieleki onto his thumbnails. Weavile. Weavile is interesting. I think Weavile looks really good here. I do think that. Weavile does have to speed tie with the Darkrai though, I think, potentially. So there is that. I don't remember if Weavile gets anything crazy, but he's gonna have to really play around this. I think like Banded Weavile is probably the best set in this matchup because it helps deal with a physically defensive clef. So if it's like, you know, unaware, you kind of get past that. It also breaks through so many teams. Amel does have very limited hazard setting. He only has the Stealth Rocks and Hippowdon, Stealth Rocks from Clefable, and the Spikes from Ogerpon. Um, so John might feel a little less carefree to go with Bandit because Bandit looks super strong here. Skarmory, I mean it's a good wall. Really. It's a pretty good wall into most things on this team. I don't think there's actually a really bad reason to bring Skarmory here. I think Skarmory with things like Whirlwind, Roost, um, Body Press, and then maybe like Iron Head, just to make sure you can take on the Clefable a little bit better. But it's overall it's not really a bad mon this matchup. I think it could have fit better with hazards, but I think Andy Shocks is better with hazards in that sense. There, like I can see Stealth Rock Spikes and then just dual stab from John. I could also just see either rocks or spikes, regardless of which one. Then just having that third would maybe like something like Thunder Wave, Metal Sound, something like that. Just overall, it's like a really good structure there. Don't think we see Little Man. Little Man doesn't really do that well into this type of a matchup here, as he kind of gets really overwhelmed by some of the offense here. I do think Big Man looks pretty strong here. I do think Big Man can really apply a really good offensive pressure here. I think, though, you don't go agility swords dance, John. I do think, though, however, an agility set looks really good here. Um, I think agility or swords dance, one of the two, looks really good here. As I can see, something like swords dance with liquidation, dual stab looks absolutely three into this team. I think agility with dual stab and liquidation also is pretty solid here. I could see something like Sugarberry. I could see something like Assault Man, even. I could also see spikes or T spikes here, as if John feels that confident, and I feel that confident. Petro doesn't come. I'm bringing T spikes because T spikes look absolutely free into Amel's team, which I think is really really massive. I think that's everything I talked about John's team. I think Scissor and Comfey are the only ones I didn't talk about. Scizor is a little tough to bring here, but I do think Scizor does match up really well into majority of things. It has really good coverage into a lot of things. Don't really think you bring it though for Defog. I think you bring it primarily more as an offensive breaker here. And then Comfey, don't really see that thing coming. I would say this. If Comfey comes, you bring Calm Mind, Store Power, Draining Hiss, and then sub or protect, one of the two. Because that literally 6-0's Amel. Literally does. There's no if, ands, or buts about it. It's 6-0's Amel, and I think Amel should know that. So I think there's gonna be quite a bit of taunters on Amel's side here to try to shut that down if possible. So as for the item though, I could see weakness policy, I could see Rocky Helmet, I could see leftovers, I could see a berry. There's just a lot of ways you could kind of go with this. So overall, excuse me, I'm picking my man John for this one. John looks the best into this team. I think John has gotten one of the better matchups he could have asked for the playoffs here, and kind of sucks for Amel too. He kind of got one of his worst matchups for playoffs, but that's just the randomized. That's just how it cookie crumbles sometimes when you don't get picked. So this is gonna be a really interesting matchup here, though. I'm picking John 100% of the times here because he's also my pick to win it, so I gotta pick him there. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that is the playoff matches there. Get hyped for next Saturday because these matches are going down, and after these 8 battle it out, only 4 will remain. And a massive shout out to all the coaches that did their best during the season. Like I said, though, everyone's linked it down in the description. Check out the people that check out whoever didn't make playoffs. Still check out their run. It was a great run that they had, and don't forget to check out your top 8 coaches as they are the ones that have made the playoffs and are going to give you guys the absolute thrilling playoff matches that you're about to see come Saturday. But thank you all for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Peace.